Hello, welcome back to Everything with Alina, the space where we talk about literally everything. And today's episode is one I've been dying to do for a while because it's such a big moment right now for any baseball fans, and you might be wondering why. Now, what is the MLB trade deadline? And why are so many people wondering, oh my god, are they going to trade Duran? Are they going to trade Rutsch? Like, all of these people, you're like, what is going on? So I'm going to talk about baseball, what it is, and just explain the whole trade deadline so then you know what's going on. So, what is baseball? Baseball is obviously a sport, duh, but it's also kind of a whole vibe. It's a whole thing. It's one of the oldest and most iconic sports in the US, and people call it America's pastime. Which, like, okay, grandpa, but to be fair, it's been around for a really long time. The first professional teams started in the 1800s. So that's already such a long time ago. So there are two teams with 9 players each. One team is on defense in the field. This can include of the pitchers, the catchers, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, right field, left field, and center field. And the other team is on offense. They're the ones batting, trying to score the runs. Now, what's the goal of this game? The goal is to score more runs than the other team. A run happens when a player hits the ball and successfully runs around 4 bases. First, second, third, and then home plate. So picture it like this. It's like a round trip. You start at home, go on a little journey, and come back home. The main action comes from the little showdown. The pitcher on defense tries to throw the ball past the batter on offense. The batter's job, hit it, run, and try not to get out. There's 3 strikes and you're out. Sound familiar? Yeah. Other ways to get out include someone catching your hit before it hits the ground, you get tagged by a player with the ball, or you get forced out because someone else is running behind you and you don't get to the base in time. So why do people love baseball? Why do you love it so much? Here's the thing. Baseball isn't just about the actual game. It's about tradition. Some of these teams go back over 100 years. There's a lot of drama, whether you know that or not, in baseball. And I'll mention that later once we get to the trades and the whole trade deadline. Another reason why people love baseball, and I personally love it also, is the ballparks. Every stadium has its own vibe, its own food, its own quirk. Some people travel around the country just to visit them. Like, some people have on their bucket list, I want to visit all 30 MLB stadiums. And that's on my bucket list too. I visited 5, and I'll do an episode on the stadiums. And it's just such, yeah, I'll do an episode on the stadiums because there's so much I want to mention about each stadium I've been to. And let's be real, some teams you might have heard of if you don't follow baseball include the New York Yankees, basically the Kardashians of baseball. So much fame, so many championships, and a lot of controversy. You also might know the LA Dodgers, hot players, iconic players, and they have lots of money. My favorite team, the Boston Red Sox, are also a pretty known team because their legacy core, along with the Cubs and San Francisco Giants. The Atlanta Braves, Houston Astros, and Texas Rangers very relevant right now, especially if we're going to talk about trades. So, what is the trade deadline and what's the deal with that? Okay, here's where it gets spicy. In baseball, players can be traded from one team to another. While the MLB trade deadline is basically the last day that players are allowed to make trades during the regular season. In 2025, today, the trade deadline is today, the 31st. So, the reason why they do this, if, let's say, Cubs are really close to getting to playoffs, and it's like the last day and they clinch playoffs, they're going to trade their worst player for Aaron Judge, for an amazing player. Like, it's kind of like unfair that you're trading just so that you have an advantage in the playoffs. So that's why they have the trade deadline, which is basically in the middle of the season, where if you trade for a really good player like today, if you make it to the playoffs, you can use that player. And you can trade whenever, really, but if you are going to if you have a chance of going to the playoffs, you wouldn't be able to use those players. So, like in a month, if the Yankees were to trade Bellinger for, I don't know, let's say, I doubt it, but Trout, let's say that. If the Yankees made it to the playoffs, they would not be allowed to play Trout. So it's that type of thing, so then they don't have the advance. Now, why do teams trade? Here's why bad teams might. If a team knows they're not going to make it to the playoffs, they might trade away some of their best players, especially if the contracts are ending soon, to get younger players or draft picks. And another thing that I had mentioned was the contracts. You're like, what's that? So whenever a player is signed with the team, they have a contract, which is basically how many years, how many seasons they're going to be with it. So you guys might have known that, like, let's say, I forgot how many years Juan Soto was going to be with the Mets, but it was like the biggest contract. They were giving him X amount of money for, I think, maybe a 10-year contract, meaning he's going to be with them for 10 years, no matter what, if that makes sense. Okay, so now why do good teams trade? And they're trying to win a World Series, they might add key players to help boost their chances. So, the Yankees, they're a good team. Why would they be wanting to trade? Like, they traded for some pitchers because they want better pitching. Trades can be one for one. I'll give you a pitcher for an outfielder, or they can be chaotic where it's multiple players, draft picks, and even like cash. The Padres wanted Jarren Duran, and they offered him. They were like, "We'll trade you 2 pitchers and a prospect and all of this for one player, for Jarren Duran." And Red Sox immediately declined because, like, he was doing pretty good. Why would you risk it? And why would you be like, we don't really want you? Because it just doesn't make sense to do it like that. And how do the fans act during this? They're unhinged. People get attached to the players. Like, if your favorite player from the Yankees suddenly goes to the Diamondbacks, you might spiral. And that's so valid because that's me all the time. I spiral so much when all my favorite players are getting traded. This year, during the trade deadline, there's already been so many people getting traded just today. Like, the Padres received Mason Miller and JP Sears for these 3 quote unquote good pitchers, which, if they're such a good pitcher, why aren't they on your team? It's kind of like that thing. But a bunch of people have been traded going back to their own. Like, some of them like started with the Mariners, left, and then they came back. So it's really interesting how the trade deadline is going out, how it's working. And a lot of people had speculated that Jarren Duran was going to be traded, which is crazy to think that they would trade him. But they did not end up trading him because he was doing so good. And they're like, he's doing good right now. Why would we risk that? This whole thing. So, anyways, I'll keep you guys updated on the trade deadline. And if you're a big fan of baseball or just want to know what's going on, ESPN has the updates. Check their Instagrams. They say, like, oh, we traded blah, blah, blah for blah, blah, blah. And it's so interesting once you guys get to know it. So, thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this, make sure to like, follow. If you have any requests on literally anything, feel free to DM me, comment on the video, literally anything. Email me at everythingwithalina@gmail.com if that's your style, if you like email. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I love you guys so much. Bye.